Hey, I'm Marissa Lothborough, and I'll be giving you a brief introduction to the evolution of house music in the United States. Ware house music, or simply house music, is a genre of electronic dance music that originated in the early 1980s in Chicago, Illinois. The 4-to-the-floor beat and offbeat hi-hat cymbals come from its roots in disco, but house music includes more synths and a darker and more minimalistic feel. This new kind of music is usually between 120 and 130 beats per minute, and it features more repetitive and longer percussion arrangements than previous disco songs. Starting in the 1970s, house music began but did not take off until 1977, when Frankie Knuckles opened up the Warehouse, a Chicago club where DJs would play records that they would normally listen to in their own homes. One of the first subgenres to emerge out of disco was the very similar sounding Italo house. This new genre introduced the use of synthesizers and other studio effects. Giorgio Moroder featured electronic sounds such as vocoders and catchy melodies in his songs, which influenced the entire genre at the time. Chicago house music started to really take off in the early 1980s, with pioneering DJs such as Marshall Jefferson and his 1986 hit Move Your Body, which featured a simple bass line along with some jazzy elements. Another early style of house music that emerged in the 1980s was deep house, which featured a lot of soul and atmospheric backgrounds, and had a lot of jazz and gospel samples and influences as well. This type of house music features sustained chords and an increase in the use of reverb and filter effects. Coming out of acid house came house music's evil twin, techno, which originated in the nearby city Detroit as early as 1986. Techno and ghetto tech used higher BPMs and sexual lyrics to get more people on the dance floor. As we can hear in this song, Time for the Percolator by Kashmir, it became the prototype for what would be known as the ghetto house subgenre. Next, coming out of Chicago and New York came acid house, which was supposedly named after acid rock. This style introduced lyrical sampling and sometimes used repetitive spoken lines in the place of verses. The squelching bass line defined the sound of acid house, which was created by modulating its frequency and resonance controls to create movement within an otherwise stagnant bass line. As with any underground music style, house music merged with mainstream in 1990 when Madonna released the house single Vogue, and Todd Terry started to incorporate hip-hop samples into his house music. Along with pop and hip-hop, reggae was also starting to mix with house music, as in Left Field's song, Release the Pressure. Also coming out of the 1990s house scene was a new type of house called garage music, or earlier, speed garage. This type of house music is characterized by a heavy emphasis on vocals, which had strong gospel influences as well. This style of music introduced piano riffs and broken beats. As house music in the US continued to grow in the new millennium, there was an increase in the diversification of subgenres within house music as it became wildly popular among youths. Progressive house is one of the new genres to form in the mid-2000s, which is differentiated by its accelerating peaks and troughs and the mixing of multiple melodies in and out throughout the song. Many other subgenres of house started to emerge, such as new disco, electro, and fidget house, which all borrowed from the 70s and 80s styles of dance music. A new subgenre of house emerging around 2006 was Dutch house, which is made up of complex percussion, dramatic build-ups, as well as short riffs of high-pitched synths. This genre brings about new use of synthesizers, while borrowing the traditional drum beat from earlier house styles. Recently, the most popular styles of house music in the United States have been big room house and electro house. Both of these genres have more energy than prior subgenres of house. Big room house takes the melodic progressive nature of progressive house while mixing it with the energy and fat synths of electro house. Over time, house music in the United States has evolved into many different sounds and rhythms, but the one thing that keeps the music consistent is the 4x4 time signature and a kick on every beat. Based on cultural and individual influences, house music, which is created by the people, is ever responding to the world at large. One thing is sure, that house music will continue to keep people dancing and will continue to grow and evolve with the times.